Hello.
Hi, Amanda.
Hi.
I'm looking to the side because that's where my screen is.
Yeah, no problem. Not at all.
Okay. Good evening. My name is Allison Larson. Welcome to our first family night this evening for Edmonds Woodway High School. And tonight, of course, our topic is about preparing for our new school year. Something I want parents to be aware is that we do a monthly parent meeting over Zoom. So to answer questions and to provide just information that is timely for you as your students go through school. So thank you for joining us for this one. We do have language interpretation available for our top 3 languages, Spanish, Korean, and Vietnamese. And if you need language interpretation, there is a globe at the bottom of your screen that you can click and select your language. And I will pause just a moment to give people an opportunity to do that. Okay. And we are also joined tonight with an ASL interpreter on our screen for our DHH community that is part of Edmonds Woodway. And tonight for our presentation, we are going to talk about our school information. I have some photos as if you were touring the school for the daily life of your student. And we're going to talk about COVID-19 and our health and safety measures. We do have quite a few slides to go through for our presentation, and usually that takes us about 30 minutes during the presentation. And then the second 30 minutes of our meeting tonight, we will have time to answer questions from families. So I'm going to ask that if you have a question and you think of it during our presentation, go ahead and put it in the chat. And Mr. Etnier and Mr. Goodsky, who I'll introduce in a moment, are helping me monitor the chat, and we will answer those questions after we're finished going through the slides. And also, if you're uncomfortable using the chat, you can use your hand raise reaction button. And after we're done going through the slides, then Mr. Goodsky and Mr. Etnier will help me call on you if you feel more comfortable speaking your question instead of typing it. So for now, we're going to go through the slides and then we will have time for questions at the end, but go ahead and enter them in the chat as we go, and then we can go back to them. So I want to start this evening with our land acknowledgement. We acknowledge the original inhabitants of this place, the Snohomish people, and their successors, the Tulalip tribes, who since time immemorial have taken care of, hunted, fished, and gathered in these lands. We respect their sovereignty, their right to self-determination, and we honor their spiritual connection to the land and water. By acknowledging these homelands, we commit to working with tribal nations to further the education aims they have identified in our classrooms and schools. And we also have land acknowledgement in Spanish. I'll just pause for a moment for our Spanish speakers to read that. Okay, thank you. Welcome to Edmonds Woodway. For parents who are new to Edmonds Woodway, there's some things that you should know about our school. We have, as of this week, it's ever changing, but this week we have just over 1,500 students that are enrolled in Edmonds Woodway and are planning to be at school in person this fall. So we are a full school for us in the fall. We are made up of several different programs that serve different needs for our students. We have an international baccalaureate program, which is a challenging program for students who, the most challenging program that they can take for competitive college entry and gaining credits. Also, we have students who, if they don't want to do the full IB program, can access IB classes and just take them as some of their classes at the school. So we have plenty of challenging options for students. We also have a deaf and hard of hearing program. So you will see as you interact with Edmonds Woodway that we do many things to incorporate and think about how we include our deaf and hard of hearing students and staff into our community and make accommodations for them so that we can adjust what we do to help them access our school. Your students might encounter, if they're not a deaf and hard of hearing student and that is new to them, they may be encountering deaf and hard of hearing students in their classes as they go through school. We also have what's called a life skills program, and that is a program for disabled students who are learning skills to become independent as adults. And we do love and cherish that program here at Edmonds Woodway. We have a multi-language learner program, also formerly known as English language learners. We've changed to multi-language learner because we're acknowledging that our language learners bring with them strengths to our school, and that includes their ability to speak many different languages, even if one of those languages are not English. And we really view that as a strength for them. They're just learning another language as they're here at Edmonds Woodway. We have a competitive athletics program. We have award-winning visual and performing arts here. And one thing that I want our parents to know is Canvas is essential for our school and essential for your students as they're working through their schoolwork, communicating with their teachers. So that's a little bit about us. I want to take a minute here to talk about how you can contact us and introduce our assistant principals. Mr. Goodsky, can you give a wave and say hello?
Hello, thanks for coming tonight. It's my pleasure to work with your children.
And Mr. Etnier, can you also say hello?
Hi, this is Jay. Happy to be here. Excited to help out in any way I can.
Thank you, Mr. Etnier. And I have put up here our contact information for our main office, our counseling office. When we are finished with this presentation and we post it on our website, then there are links to the different information on our website about these offices. So we have a counseling office where you can get information from counselors and a phone number there. If your students have questions about schedules and they want to see their counselor, please have them email their counselor directly in order to make an appointment with them. We also have an attendance office. That's a separate office. And I have numbers there for you to use to excuse absences of students. And then also if you have any attendance questions. And inside our attendance office, our student intervention coordinator is located. We are still working on hiring a person to fill that position, so I don't have a name for us there right now. And then we also have an athletics office, and I have the direct phone number there. And we have a new athletics director this year, Tyler Geving, and he just started this year and is doing a great job. So he is someone that you can access and have questions answered about athletics. Our first day of school is going to be Wednesday, September 8th. And there's some information here also about kindergartners. And then the last day of school is Friday, June 24th. And I want to share with you some photos from our school. Usually at the beginning of the school year, we're able to have a parent meeting and we give tours of the building. So we're not able to do the parent meeting this year. So this is my little virtual tour for you. I know, being a parent myself, that it is helpful to be able to picture where your student is going to school every day. And so I took these photos with that in mind from my parent perspective. So our morning at Edmonds Woodway is very busy. Our building is open often earlier, but about 6:45 is a good time for students to start arriving. Our school starts at 7:20. The drop-off time is the busiest time between 7 and 7:15. And if you are a parent that likes to drive your student and drop them off at Edmonds Woodway, you can expect a lot of traffic, and usually the street backs up. And so it's good to think early. It's really hard for students if they're just arriving at 7:15 to be able to get into the parking lot and dropped off and to their classes. So I recommend arriving a little earlier than 7:15 to school so that your students can be relaxed and get to their classes on time. So we have a very busy 15 minutes on campus while everybody's driving onto the campus. Of course, we have buses and students drive themselves, and students also take city buses. So we have a lot of ways for people to converge to our school in the morning. We have breakfast that is served. I put 6:50. It actually starts being served at 7 o'clock in the morning in our great hall. And that is every day. And then we do have a second chance breakfast because we know our teenagers don't necessarily like to eat at 7 in the morning. They like to eat a little bit later. So we give them an opportunity to get another breakfast if they need to during advisory. I have some photos here that you can use to kind of picture what your student's day starts like. If your student is dropped off by bus, then those students enter our campus from our west entrance, which is across from the stadium. So they enter this courtyard that I have displayed. And then if you're dropping off your student, then we ask that you park and pull in for the drop off near the tennis courts. And so you'll drive past the south entrance of the school if you're entering that way, and then pull over by the tennis courts to drop off your students. Please do not stop in front of the south entrance and drop your students off there. That backs up the traffic onto the road. And so we're trying to help the city keep the road clear by having our drop off further onto campus. And so please look for that. And there are people who direct traffic that will direct you to that area of the drop off in our south parking lot. And then I have a picture here also of our south entrance. So when students are dropped off by families or they park in the student parking lot, then this is the entrance that they enter when they come to Edmonds Woodway. So you can picture your student coming in these several different ways in the morning when they arrive. And when they arrive, our classes start at 7:20. And they do end at 1:50. Generally, our building and our offices close at 3 o'clock and teachers go home at that time. And so we start asking students to really exit the building by 3 o'clock. We will be asking this year for students to exit unless they have a specific need to see a teacher or have a plan for what they're doing after school. So we're not, because we're trying to be cautious about COVID, we're not encouraging students to just hang out after school and leave at 3 o'clock. They need to be here for a purpose if they're here after 1:50. I've included in this presentation our class bell schedule link to our website. And I've also been publishing that class schedule, but you can find it on our website. Some things that you should know about Edmonds Woodway is we have a Monday and Wednesday odd period schedule with advisory. And then Tuesday and Thursday, students go to their even periods and advisory. So the students actually take 3 classes a day, 6 classes total, and they go to class every other day. The periods are a little bit longer than what you'd find at a traditional high school. They're about 90 minutes long, and they meet every other day. And then Friday, the students attend every period. So I have here photos for you of the upstairs hallway. You can see our stained glass there where our seniors have made gifts to the school. And so we have a hallway full of stained glass windows here. So that spans a whole hallway. This is upstairs. This is our downstairs hallway. This is our student store here. And students would walk this way to go to the library. Outside of these windows is the courtyard. Our school is made up of 8 different flex areas, inside which there are classrooms. And so I have an entry to one of our flex areas here, and there's a big open space in here surrounded by classrooms. We also have a separate building, that's our A building, where our performing arts and our visual arts are taught in that building. And so this kind of gives you an overview of the hallways and where students are moving through the hallways during the day. I also have some samples here of our classrooms, some typical classrooms. We have a lot of classrooms that are our regular classrooms, and we have them set up with tables this year with students all facing one way as much as possible. Sometimes they're clustered in groups, but we're trying to be cautious about students being too clustered together. And so we have tables facing all the same way. I have also a photo here of a science lab, and our labs are really pretty nice science labs. They've got all the gas and water hookups that are needed to complete the labs that students need to do in our school. And they have hoods for chemistry, and it's a really nice facility for science. And I have a computer lab here. We have several of those in the building where computer science and robotics are taught. So I have those three examples that generally are what our classrooms look like. All the classrooms are equipped with projectors and speakers, and so they're ready for the students to use their technology in the classrooms. And at lunchtime, we will be having 2 lunches. So for those families who are familiar with Edmonds Woodway, you know that we have an A and B lunch, and we're going to continue with that schedule based on their 3rd and 4th period classes. So that we can try as much as possible to have social distancing and areas for students to eat during lunch. We do have our great hall, which we will have tables in. I took this picture this week and it's not quite set up yet. It was actually just waxed this week. And so it wasn't set up, but we will have it set up with tables for students to sit at so they can socially distance here. We are going to encourage students to use the courtyard as well. So when they're eating unmasked, they are outside, which is a safer circumstance for them. And then if we need the space also so that students can spread out and be outside, then we will be opening our stadium as well so that we have plenty of space for students to spread out. I recommend thinking about having your students bring their coats to school and be ready for classroom windows to be open and to be doing some things outside so that we can be as safe as possible that as we can while students are at school. This year we will be serving hot meals and grab and go items that actually are pretty tasty. All the students eat free this year, and we are a closed campus. We've always been a closed campus, so we continue to be a closed campus, and that's very tempting for our students to go across the street and get some fast food because we have several of those right across the street, but we're discouraging students from doing that, and we would like them to stay on campus, especially because all the food on campus is free. And we have a couple of other spaces I wanted to point out. We really have a beautiful library that will be set up, and we'll be conscientious about social distancing in the library and making sure we're limiting use, but it will be available and open for students to check out books and do research. And then I have a little picture here of our career center that is next to our library that students can do career research and college research and find out about scholarships and apprenticeship programs and all sorts of things. So I encourage students to visit our career center as well. And our school business is taken care of in our main office, our counseling office, and our attendance and ASB offices. So I just have some photos here of those different office entries. The main office and counseling office can be entered through our north gate of our campus off of 212 and right inside the door there. Many of you are familiar with where that is. And then our attendance office is downstairs along with our ASB office with windows that students can walk up to and be helped at. Okay, so that's our school day that students might be experiencing while they're here. And I want to take some time to talk about our COVID-19 health and safety. And I want to keep in mind before I get into these slides specifically that we are a very full campus, and it's as if our students are here for regular school because we are that full. Our governor has said our first priority is to make sure that all students can attend in person for 5 days a week, 5 full days a week. And so that is our first priority as well at school. So we do have a lot of students who have chosen to come to Edmonds Woodway and do that. And so this is going to be a community effort to make sure all of us can stay healthy and safe and be cautious. So there's things in here that we are doing as a school, and also that I'm going to ask of our whole community to help us so that we can make sure that we are all staying safe. So for our safety and our health, we are asking that masks are worn, they're required inside and outside while on campus. And that might be a little bit different than what you're experiencing out in the community, but while we're on campus, we're all wearing masks and inside or outside. You notice right now I'm on campus in my office, I'm not wearing a mask. For those employees that have a private office space where we can close the door, during those times when we're not interacting with others, we can close our door and take our mask off. But if we are interacting with anybody else, then we need to keep our masks on, and that includes our staff as well. Even today, when there's no students here, our staff wore masks today. So we are being very conscientious about that, and we really want to ask our students to be conscientious about that as well. We're going to, as much as possible, maintain physical distancing. There's going to be times we can't do that, but for the most part, we will be emphasizing that as much as possible. And we're going to ask families that and students before arriving to school to check for COVID-19 symptoms. And then if there's any symptoms occurring, then staying home sick. And Edmonds School District has created a COVID-19 handbook that people can publicly access to see what we are doing. It is updated throughout the school year with latest information. Our Snohomish County Health District needs to be flexible as things change with this pandemic. And so we need to keep updating our information and rules. And so that's where you can find that in that handbook. Some things that we're doing at the school, we are making sure that we are cleaning and disinfecting all the areas. We use cleaners that are safe for everybody and children to be around. You may also hear from your students that there's cleaner available and they're being asked to wipe down their desks when they're finished. And we have paper towels and cleaners in the rooms for them to do that. So you might be hearing about that as well, and we'll be emphasizing that with our students. We are also using the most optimal ventilation at Edmonds Woodway. Our HVAC systems are on all the time, and we are changing our filters regularly. We just did a filter change this last week, and then we will do one again in the winter, trying to keep that updated as much as possible. And we have a very good HVAC system here at Edmonds Woodway to help us with the pandemic. You may also be hearing from your students that teachers are keeping outside windows open, and that's just to help that ventilation as well. So again, be ready for some sweaters and coats as we get into the colder months so that we can make sure that air exchange is happening in our classrooms. Again, we are going to be emphasizing proper mask wearing and masks are required both inside and outside. We're looking for students to wear masks that do fit around their nose and under their chin and over their ears so that it is sealed around this area of their face. We're discouraging things like bandanas or gaiters that might be open at the bottom. We're really looking for masks that also fit around the chin. If your students do not have masks and they need them, we have plenty of masks to give away. So if students arrive without one, then we can take care of them and their cloth masks so they can take them home and reuse them and wash them. So that will be available. This slide has a video link. If you're interested in looking at that, I'll let you do that later. It's a very cute video about children and wearing masks, so you can view it on your own. We will also be emphasizing hand hygiene with our students, and all of our classrooms are equipped with hand sanitizer, and there are hand sanitizer dispensers throughout the building. And then also, I mentioned that we have 8 different flex areas in our building. Every flex area has a sink where students can wash their hands. So we have hand washing stations. Students can wash hands in the restrooms, and then also we have plenty of hand sanitizer, and we'll be encouraging the frequent use of all of those methods during the day. We are asking that we are limiting access to inside our school. So we are asking that we are not doing parent volunteers or community volunteers at this time. The main office is open to family members who have school business. We'll encourage you to try to take care of that business over email or phone first, but you can come into the main office to take care of some school business if you need to. But we are asking family members to not be accessing the whole school, and you know, of course, we're not holding these large events at school. I think the exception for events will be athletics, where families can come in and watch their students can participate in athletics and participate in music programs as well. Those regulations seem to be changing quite regularly, so we will keep our athlete families and our music families and our drama families up to date as events come up and as those guidelines change for us. And at school, we also have available COVID-19 testing for students and staff. And so if there's some concern about a student having COVID-19 or showing symptoms, then that is an option for us to do testing. And all of these things together with the mask wearing, the testing, the watching your symptoms, hand washing, all of those are just really important for us to prevent the spread of COVID and keeping our community safe. And I can't emphasize enough that one of the best things that all of our community can do is to have a COVID-19 vaccination. All of our students are at the age where they are eligible for a vaccination. Some things we're finding as we look at the guidelines is that if a student is vaccinated and we happen to have a positive case somewhere associated with our school, then the vaccination means the student will not need to quarantine and just monitor symptoms. So that's a good way for our students to be able to stay in school, and also helps keep our community safe. If most of us are vaccinated, then there's less chance of the virus to be spread. Of course, we know it can still be spread, but the chances are less than if we have unvaccinated people in our community. So I want to encourage as many people as can to go ahead and get their vaccinations. As you may already know, the vaccine is required for all of our school employees. So they have till mid-October to make sure that they're all caught up on this vaccination. And I want to emphasize again that it is important for families to do kind of a daily check with your students. Last year, we had attestation forms. We are not doing attestation forms this year. We are trusting that families are asking their students and checking to make sure that they don't have symptoms before they arrive to school. And we would like that to happen so that we can prevent any symptomatic students from coming to school. We also are going to be asking our teachers to really think about how we handle absences from classes in a compassionate way, so that if students are missing school, they do not become stressed out and insist that they need to come even if they have symptoms. So we will work with those situations as they come up. And we just really encourage any students who are symptomatic to stay at home. If there is a student that does have symptoms at school, then we will work with the family to have that student go home, and then we'll figure out what else needs to be done with that student from there. So just know that that's really important for us, that students are staying home if they're not feeling, if they're feeling that they're not well, or if they have some COVID symptoms. And this reviews some of the symptoms for us, and I'll just give a moment for you to look at this slide rather than me reading each symptom to you. And here's some additional symptoms. And we want to encourage students to bring their Chromebook home each day, because if they happen to end up having symptoms at home and they can't come to school, then their Chromebook is how they will be accessing Canvas classes and getting makeup work and staying in touch with their teacher. So it's really important for them to have their Chromebook every day, and also charge it in the evening. And then if they're coming to school, then bring their charged Chromebook with them, because they use it in school as much as they should use it at home. And this slide talks about a learning plan if a student is out sick, and it encourages you to go to our state's attendance policy on our district website. And really, when we're talking about attendance and students, we really look for ways that we can support students who are not able to come to school, and then encourage students to continue to be engaged with their learning. And so we do want students to, stay engaged in our classes, keep up, and we will definitely work with supports to help them do that. And having that Chromebook at home and charged is going to be really important, as if they were needing to stay home ill. We also have fall athletics happening right now, and there is some forms and eligibility information on our website. Our fall athletics so far are going well, and students are participating, and we will continue to stay informed about what are the best guidelines for athletics as we go through that, but we are fully operational with our athletics right now. And performing arts, we also have some guidelines for our performing arts classes that we're following, and we have here a link for you to look at the health and safety webpage around performing arts too. One thing that I want to encourage all of our families to access is Skyward. You can use that to check on your students' grades, making sure your contact information is up to date. Your bus routes are there. You can check all sorts of records for your students, checking their attendance, which would be important. So I have included a link here to our website that has information about how to access Skyward as a family. I really encourage that you do that so that you can keep track of how your students are doing in classes. And of course, this is one tool, and talking to your students about their progress is another tool, and checking in with teachers is a tool. Looking at Canvas is also a good tool for you to have conversations with your students about how they're doing in school. And we have bus information here. Passengers and drivers on the buses are also required to wear masks on the school bus. And you can now check your route information on Skyward since August 23rd. So if you have questions about your bus route, you can go to Skyward to see that. And this information is information about the parent app where you can check bus routes and things like that for your students as well. So we encourage you to access that. And again, when this when this presentation is published on our website, then these links will be live for you to access this information. And there is free breakfast and lunch for all students. So on the school district's website, there is menus available for you to see what is happening every day at schools. And we encourage students to eat here on campus and take advantage of the free meals that are available for this school year for all students. And even though all meals are free for all students, it is still important for families who need financial support to complete eligibility forms for the free and reduced meals application. What this form does for those parents who qualify, or for those families who qualify, is let us know that you need financial support in other ways. So there's things like course fees, sports fees, and internet costs that can be reduced or waived when families complete this form and they're eligible for those kinds of that kind of support and help. So even though all the meals are free, we still encourage you to complete this application if that applies to you. And this shows, again, a website where those forms are available on the district website, and these links will be live once we publish this presentation online. The Edmonds School District is hiring right now, and so we're especially in need of bus drivers and food service workers. So if you are interested in working for the public school system in Edmonds School District, please do check the website for available jobs at this time. And I also want to put a plug here. I see I made some space for some Spanish translating here, and that didn't get done. I apologize for that. Our Edmonds Woodway Parent Staff Organization is an organization that welcomes all. There's no fees or dues to be a member of the Parent Staff Organization. This is an organization that raises funds for classroom grants and student support and appreciation events at our school. Some big things they've done recently is helped us recover our chairs in our library so that they're updated and not worn out anymore. Often they purchase books for the library for our students to participate in the battle of the books. They've helped pay for things like transportation for our DHH students to go to basically competitions for Knowledge Bowl kind of competitions, and our DHH students have been regional winners of those competitions and have gone to national competitions. So that's another example of something that our parent staff organization pays for. We have a club called Student Saving Salmon, and our PSO was able to pay for some new equipment for that club so that they can measure water quality in Edmonds out in the field and then report back to the city what that water quality is like. So there's a lot of different things that our parent staff organization does for our community. So I want to encourage you to check out their website and fill out a membership form. And again, there's no dues or fees. It's just about fundraising in our community to support our school. And so now is a time to start asking any questions you have, and use that Zoom feature to raise your hand, or you can put your question in the chat, and Mr. Goodsky and Mr. Etnier will help me manage those. I'm going to stop sharing our presentation because it is easier for me to then answer questions if that's not displayed on my screen. So give me a moment to do that. Okay. Okay, Mr. Good Sky, I see your hand is raised.
I was indicating that people have questions. So one question that we've gotten a couple times is whether the library will be open before school for students to study.
The library will be open, I believe, at 7 o'clock. So that gives about 20 minutes for students to study before their class starts. So it is not available for a very long time. After school, it is available until around 3 o'clock. We haven't totally set the library schedule yet, but it will be available after school for students to study in as well. And during lunches, if there's not a class scheduled in there during the lunchtime. The library use is limited because we want to make sure that we can do some social distancing. So it is a space in demand, but no, there might be times when your student might show up and the library might say it's full. But it is a very welcoming space and something popular among students to do before and after school.
Another question that we had was related to the COVID testing available at the schools. Is there more information that you have on that?
So the testing that's available is I am not super versed in the kinds of testing, but it's the test where you need to mail it away and it takes a couple days. So I think that's the better version. So that's available. And if students or families were needing that, then our school nurse has that available. And so it is under circumstances where, students might have symptoms and you're just very concerned about whether your student has testing or not. This is one of those places that you can have that done. And you can speak to our new school nurse, Erin Woods, about the possibility of needing testing if you have those concerns. Okay, I'm just waiting for Mr. Edna or Mr. Gitzgar to jump in. And
I'm sure you have a bell schedule in front of you. Can you tell us what time first and second lunches are?
Yes, first lunch starts at, let me see if I can memorize it without looking at the schedule. First lunch starts at 10:38 and second lunch starts at 11:02. I believe. So we do have 2 lunches this year. Some of you may remember last year we had 3 lunches and the first lunch was at 9:20. So that's really hard. So we're glad to be offering lunches a little bit later.
We have a hand raised from Mrs. Quintens. Mrs. Quintens, if you would like to unmute and ask your question, please.
We may need to unmute.
Oh, okay. Here, I can ask to unmute, or do I just unmute it? It says I can ask to. Let's try that. No, it's not doing it. Well, while we're waiting, when will classes be available for students in Skyward?
Those classes should be available now. We turned those on August 31st yesterday. So they should be available for students to see. I'm not sure how to help Miss Quintens unmute herself. I'm so sorry about that.
What time does zero period start?
Oh gosh, zero period starts around 6:20. It's about an hour before school starts. So for Theory of Knowledge and our jazz band, I believe, is running zero periods this year. So the students' teachers should be able to tell them more specifically what time.
Can you speak to clubs a little bit and which clubs are going to be active and which clubs and when they're going to be starting?
Mm-hmm. Usually the clubs do start sometime in September. We have around 15 to 20 clubs that are regularly active and have been. There might be more now that we're back in person. And so we do have a space on our website with a list of clubs that typically run at our school. The advisors, usually students in September, are asking for advisors for those clubs, and we'll start making announcements about clubs and meetings very soon after school starts. So students can expect some announcements in September about meetings and things like that.
How are we going to be monitoring whether students are wearing masks in the hallways and in classes?
Well, in classes, the teachers will be there and monitoring. And then in the hallways, we will be doing supervision as we usually do. We have teachers that go through the hallways. We have staff members. Myself and our assistant principals are often moving through the hallways. And so we'll be monitoring in that way. We do have two main supervision staff and then two others that help out at times during the day. So we do have a lot of adults that are in the hallways looking at students and monitoring the mask wearing. And then when they're in their classes, the teachers will be monitoring that as well.
Are we going to be having tutoring from any students? Is there peer tutoring going on?
Mr. Goodsky is nodding. Yes, we will be. Do you have more information, Mr. Goodsky, about that?
We're still working out the exact days and times, but I'll begin talking to students who are interested in, a lot of them will get their CAS hours through this after-school tutoring. So as the school year gets set up, we'll start talking with them. And then I also have an adult who I believe is interested in managing the after-school tutoring time. So we'll get it set up. It's going to take us a little bit to finalize all the help and things that we need, but yes, we will have it.
Okay, great. Thank you, Mr. Goodsky.
There's a very interesting question. With some commentary from me. I gotta find it because there were a bunch just right quick. But the increased attendance or the increased absences based on students staying home, is there going to be any adjustment for that? Because now that we're asking them to stay home for any related illness, that could cover a lot of things, and a lot of healthy people a lot of non-COVID students are going to be absent to be precautious.
Thank you for that question. I think, as you know, in the past, some of you who may have had older students at Edmonds Woodway or graduates from Edmonds Woodway, that we do have students who really want to continue to come to school even when they're not feeling well, and they have concerns about, I'm missing assignments, or will this impact my grade? What if I can't make up this assignment? And so I have asked the teachers that we be really conscientious about thinking about how do we encourage students to stay home and to relax and to feel like their grade is not being impacted when they are needing to be absent from school. So we are working through that, and we're going to be encouraging our teachers, and our teachers are pretty compassionate about students, and they understand that we do want students to not feel pressured to come to school because they're worried about their grade if they're not feeling well. And then I do encourage all of our students to continue to use Canvas, stay updated on what is going on in their classes on Canvas, because that will be the tool where, if they're absent, where their makeup work is going to be, and how they can submit work. And that will continue to be a really useful tool for us to communicate with students and families. So we want to encourage students to keep focusing on that as well.
Are they going to be able to have any Zoom correspondence during the school year?
with their teachers. We've talked to teachers about one idea is doing some Zoom tutoring sessions after school for students who are missing work, and teachers want to see, how many students there's going to be and what we can do. But Zoom is still available for students and teachers, and we have found that in a lot of ways to be a really effective tool to stay in touch. So we're going to be encouraging our teachers to do that kind of activity after school as well.
I'm assuming that means that a student who is absent or is asked to quarantine Zoom is not available to watch the classroom during that time.
Right. Zoom is not going to be available live during the classroom. And so we'll be doing some alternative ways for students to still engage in that learning if they need to be absent.
Can you talk a little bit about contact tracing? This might be the last question. I think it can encompass a couple things because we're getting real close to 7 o'clock. So the question is about contact tracing and student testing, and there was another one about seating charts. So can you talk a little bit about that?
Thank you. So contact tracing is really complex, and I've learned a lot in the last 6 months that they don't teach us contact tracing when we go to ed school. So the measure that we are using to define what is close contact currently is someone who has been within 6 feet for more than 15 accumulated minutes over the course of 24 hours. That definition continues to change. So that is the definition this week, and that's what we're working off of this week. And so when we do contact tracing, we ask the person who is the positive COVID case, who they may have been in contact with at school or socializing outside of school. And then we also look at who are they sitting around in the classroom. And of course, students who might be close to a student in the classroom would be considered a close contact. Students who are sitting across from the classroom, not a close contact. We'll find out where have they been during the day, during passing period and lunchtime, to try and identify as many students as we can. And then once we've identified the close contacts, then we ask questions of those close contacts, like, are you vaccinated? If a student is fully vaccinated, and that means 2 vaccinations and then 2 weeks after the last vaccination, then they would not need to quarantine. We would just need to monitor their symptoms. If they are unvaccinated, then we would need them to quarantine for 14 days to ensure that they have not, the virus has not been passed to them. And so that's kind of how it works. And the seating charts in classrooms are going to be really important for our teachers to follow, and we will be having students in assigned seats, and then that will help us if we need to do contact tracing in that classroom. We would know who the student might have been close to, or I'm assuming student, but staff member too, or whoever, who they're close to, and then who we need to contact for the contact tracing. With all of those issues, there are communications that are general communications that will go to the school community and to the people involved, so that we can make sure that our communication is transparent and clear. Of course, this is all health information, and so we also need to be conscientious about being confidential about a student's personal or staff members' personal health issues. So we have to find that delicate balance of contact tracing, but not revealing private information. So we're very careful about those things. Okay, it is 7 o'clock.
May I ask you one more question?
Yes, how about the last question for this evening?
I've seen this one twice, so hopefully this helps. Is there a way on our website, I'm thinking the food services department, but is there a way for students to figure out the ingredients that are in the lunches that are provided in case they have allergies?
Yes, I am certain that there is. I haven't looked on our website, but I'm certain that they have on the food services website, the published ingredients. I am not sure exactly where that is kept, but I'm certain that if you went to the food services website for the district, you would be able to find that information there.
Thank you. There's a message in the chat from Kristen that there is a menu and a filter for that. So thank you.
Good, thank you. Okay, with that, we are at 7 o'clock. And so I'm going to go ahead and bring our meeting to a close this evening. Again, it has been recorded, so we will go ahead and post this meeting on the website and the slideshow on the website so that you can access those links. Please look for our every 2 weeks, our Warrior Family Connect. We try to keep that with the most updated information for our families to know and have that be accessible for our families. And then look for monthly announcements for family information nights so that we can share with you things like high school and beyond plan and financial aid nights and important information about meeting teachers and things like that. So I look forward to working with all of you through this next school year. And it is my honor to serve the Edmonds Woodway community. Please take care and have a great evening. Bye, everybody.